Parkinson's disease and actually talk about the data science behind some of that work and how critical it is for such data assets to be shared across geographical boundaries to help improve the care of those living with the condition. I will also share examples of in the mobility space and how we can imagine a data marketplace helping us know our vehicle in the used market context. I'll talk a little bit about the work that we're doing with the community and our activities, and of course point you in the direction of all the software components that we've been developing, which is there for everybody to use. I will do my best not to get carried away with some of the subject, which I tend to do. So what's interesting about this group of companies is when we talk about the data economy and we talk about a 3.8 trillion data economy by 2030. Right now, we are a long, long way from achieving that goal. Although data is an incredible asset, it keeps giving. Unlike oil, once we use it, it's gone. Data keeps giving. And the combinations and the possibilities of value is incredible. But what's special about these companies is that they've been providing service that you're happy to give up your data for free. Interestingly enough, what's also interesting about these companies is that they also have the data that computes the algorithms and the storage capabilities to maximize and extract the most value. And to be able to have this capability requires huge amounts of investment in capability, which many small companies, startups, dynamic SMEs, even large organizations that are not specialists in this area don't have these capabilities. And so it's very interesting in this emerging data economy, actually only a few companies have got all of the required capabilities to track and capture so much value. But that's a decentralized model, and that's something that we'll discuss a lot more later. We also need to recognize now, in particular when we start to discuss financial data, health data, personally identifiable data, that this data is private. This data cannot move. It is too heavy. And so if the data cannot move, then how can people get access to it to utilize it? And this is a problem. And this is why the Googles, the Facebooks, etc. are winning right now, because they own the data, they store the data, and they have the capabilities. But what if we could exist in a world where actually brilliant mathematicians, developers of algorithms and models could get access to the data, because actually the compute and the capabilities, models can come to that data. The data can stay with that owner, with the person who's created it, but the people with great ideas on how to extract value from that data can actually get access to this. And if we're able to enable such a working environment, then we start to create many, many opportunities for all to get access to data and have massive impact in industries like healthcare. Now, healthcare is perceived to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of AI. It could be a 1.5 trillion game changer in the space. But again, as we'll discuss later, that will not happen unless more and more people can get access to data through decentralization. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring you a real example, and I'm going to talk about motor state detection in the context of Parkinson's disease. What is so interesting about all of us in this room is that we all have a unique way of moving. Because we are of different shapes and sizes and heights and weights, we have a different motion model, a different 3D pattern. And if you can actually capture that 3D pattern of data, you can actually start to use machine learning to do some very interesting diagnostics work in this space. Now, right now, in the case of Parkinson's, most Parkinson's patients in Singapore, in Korea, in the US, will typically get to spend 15 minutes with a doctor once every 3 months. Now, that doctor is having to objectively assess you based on a very short space of time, and also dealing with a condition that is unpredictable. It's very difficult to predict when there is going to be a freezing of gait, a stiffening, a tremor, etc. And this makes it very difficult. What is also incredible right now, this is real world, a patient is asked to keep this kind of diary of their symptoms, paper-based, it's subjective, right? They can forget, it can be confusing, unclear. All of this is bad data, which bad data leads to bad diagnosis, which leads to bad apathy of care and bad treatment. There must be a better way. Also, interestingly enough, even the experts get it wrong a lot of the time. On average, a professional clinical rater will get it right 60% of the time. They get it wrong because they're tired, they're distracted, there's other things, right? And this often leads to real problems for patients. So, you know, I'm here visiting you in Korea, where you have incredible consumer technology companies like Samsung, like LG, that are pioneering the development of, you know, wearables that can emit data and can be used for great good, if only that can be captured. And the story is this: through such wearable devices, whether it is a Samsung Gear, a Fitbit Ionic, or an Apple Watch, you can start to get continuous monitoring, which can help better steer medication, better steer care. Sorry, please. So, that's fantastic. Now, in the world today, there's about 20 million people living with Parkinson's disease. And it is possible in Germany, with Scholling Clinic in Germany, to get access to 3,000 patients. It is also possible in Istanbul to get access to 20,000 patients, which is big numbers. And to develop accurate models, we need about 2,000 to 5,000 patients contributing data. But the issue is this, is that no Parkinson's patient is naturally the same. A Chinese ethnicity will respond differently to medication than to a white European male. So if you collect a lot of data from clinical studies and build your models on white European males from Germany, your models will be wrong when they're used at the National Neuroscience Institute of Singapore, who are mainly Chinese ethnicity, right? And this is a problem. So what does that tell us? First lesson, data needs to be shared. Data needs to basically travel or access given across many different geographical borders and different regulatory regimes. So in Singapore, there's one regulatory regime, in Germany another, and in Istanbul, it's a lot looser. But to date, we've been doing studies on over 1,000 patients, which is enabling us to do some fantastic work. Sorry. So what does this look like? We are doing high-level clinical trials, sampling patients every 10 seconds, every minute, from a clinical expert rater. At the same time, they are emitting 60 lines of accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer data per second. And by correlating what we study and the video work and the expert label, we're able to see patterns in the accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer data. And this data is actually being emitted 24/7. As a result, we're able to basically start to predict clinical labels. This degree of dyskinesia, this individual is in an off or on state, incredibly powerful. And so the patterns look like this for those that are interested. And what we're basically doing is we're using a technique for the data scientists called convolutional neural networks to basically build these three-stage classification models. And it starts to give us these really interesting matrices of results. And then what you can start to do is then map it out against their day. So understanding how food and the food they're eating has an impact on basically the medication that they're taking. How significant was sleep? How significant was exercise? The reason why I'm sharing this with you is because we're now operating in a data economy where we have affordable consumer devices that are in the intersection of health and data science. We're now able to provide 24/7 objective symptom measurement of something very, very complicated. And the quality of that assessment, and this is a 9-degree model, the quality of the assessment is the following. In 80% of the cases, we're getting it right. The model works excellent in terms of objectively measuring. In 13%, it's okay, and in 7%, it doesn't work. But remember what I told you about the experts. The experts who have 15 minutes are getting it 60% right, whereas a $200 wearable is getting it right close to 93% of the time, 24/7, thereby dramatically improving the care. So, in summary, this application to healthcare, this application of data science, advanced AI, is transforming the way that we can understand a condition and steer medication and care. But it is completely dependent on large amounts of high-quality data with clinical labels to generate the results. And in reality, the problem is this, is that the people that have the data, right, who have the data, have real issues sharing that data because they believe it's valuable and they do not want to lose control. The people that have the algorithms, the brilliant ideas, right, can't afford to capture that data. So the study I've just shared with you cost $1 million to create that data for the purposes of this exercise. It's very difficult for a startup to get access to $1 million to create data. But startups, researchers, have the ideas. Now, if only we could basically try and address this. And so the obstacles to data sharing in healthcare, we have multiple stakeholders, health providers, governments and politics, payers, right, who are asking deep questions around data ownership, data privacy, security, trust. Can I trust you if I give you this? Not my data, not to send it to 1 million people. These are difficult questions. What is the value? Should I be paid? And what is the infrastructure that's required? And when you start to distill these dimensions down, you come into 3 big areas: trust, data privacy, and value exchange. Particularly privacy when we're dealing with individuals' data. So, let's use blockchain to connect data and AI. You know, through the application of blockchain at Ocean Protocol, we really do believe that we can address significant social and economic challenges by unlocking data for AI. Also, we can give fair attribution, equitable attribution, on-chain to those that have contributed that data. And so using my Parkinson's example, I have been contributing data to train models. When a company pays to use that model, whether it is a Roche, a Medtronic, an AbbVie, a royalty, a proportion of that payment can trickle all the way down, because without my data, without my intellectual property, such models would not exist. And what's fascinating about this complete rethink of basically consent is that we're moving from a consent model like GDPR, which is really trying to protect people from abuse, to one that is an economic engagement, right? And a completely new commercial contract enabled by blockchain. And in Ocean Protocol, we're solving these data sharing problems. So, you know, what are we doing at Ocean Protocol? So we have a network of computers running Ocean software geared to this data economy. Right? We built a grammar and a language that allows data storage, compute, and algorithms to be registered as services on the network so they can speak to one another. By creating this language, we've been able to codify new norms of behavior that allow these services to interact. And tied to each of these smart contracts, or what we refer to as service execution agreements, we have this digital asset called the Ocean Token, which acts as a means of exchange around the value. And so when you're using the Ocean network, we're able to leverage, exchange data, storage and compute, and algorithms by using and paying for the Ocean Token. Coming back to when I talked about Google, Facebook, these large organizations, these were single platforms, centralized operators where they had both the data and the capabilities. They had full control and they were capturing all of the value. By leveraging blockchain, we're no longer limiting ourselves to one single platform. No one controls that platform around these business transactions. So algorithm builders can train their models on multiple data sets because they have a mechanism to get access to it. Data owners have full control over their IP and at any time can revoke access to such data at an individual level or broader. And data scientists can compose their own data analytics pipelines or data supply lines. And all of this is basically orchestrated via a decentralized approach. And I'm not sure how clear this is, but when you think about a data supply line, now that the data can flow, now that we can fully attribute and have an immutable record of who owns such data asset, how such a data asset can be accessed and used, right? And that's fully verifiable. We can start to enable whole new types of data exchanges, where a healthcare provider can make data available to data scientists, researchers, for them to train and develop models. If they're happy, if those models have performed well, they can publish those models to a marketplace for other people to use. When those models are used, people pay to use those models to basically analyze another data set, say in the case of somebody with Parkinson's, and payment trickles down. So key features: open standard, decentralized responsibilities, trusted data orchestration via the protocol, immutable provenance, and integration with data commons. These are critical, and all of these capabilities will enable data marketplaces of data and algorithms. And we're doing as much work as we can to imagine a future of decentralized marketplaces where all of these capabilities can be invoked, provided and invoked as services. So you don't have to have everything all together. It can be decentralized. So let's just give you an example of a marketplace. In Singapore, so just giving you a mobility example, stepping away from health. In Singapore, SG Car Mart basically is responsible for the listing and the selling of many of a high percentage of used cars in Singapore. But what's really interesting about a used car is that if I have an example of an Audi December 13 Q5 and another Audi December 13 Q5, how do I know if that's a good car or a bad car? How do I know which car has not been in accidents? How do I know which car has not been driven badly because that person has got a lot of speeding fines or has been parked in the wrong areas? You have no knowledge of that vehicle. And actually, there's a social safety risk, right? Because if that car had been in many accidents, had been driven badly, the chances of you having an accident or a problem with that car is higher than that one that has been driven well. And actually, if I'm a good actor, if I'm a good driver, should I not be rewarded? Should I not be able to demonstrate and prove that my vehicle is good so I can actually charge a higher price for it than a bad one. And just imagine this scenario against each vehicle where there could be a score, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10, based on data that is being shared. And this is the work that we're doing. So we have a real information asymmetry where 100,000 cars change ownership in Singapore every year, but nobody really knows the vehicle. And so what we're doing in Singapore is we're enabling all of these different data owners from the traffic police that have basically your records of any speeding fines or speeding offences. We also have workshops, both branded like a BMW or an Audi, or unbranded, and having them share the works that are done with such vehicle. Insurance companies who understand if a vehicle's been in an accident or not, and leveraging blockchain, they are leveraging the Ocean Protocol. They're basically registering their data assets on chain. The data is staying with the insurer, but applications are allowed to come to that data asset and query, I have a vehicle, has this been in an accident, as an example, to be able to generate a score. And when you look at this solution overview, when you look at this ecosystem, you start to realize, for the data economy to flourish, you need both government and regulator, you need large enterprise, you need small to medium-sized business and startups, data scientists, and actually customers involved in this whole picture. And the customers, the people who own the cars, must see the incentives that actually, if I'm a good driver, I'll be able to charge more and I'll be able to verify that. All of the software that is required to build these kind of solutions, those building blocks are available at docs.oceanprotocol.com. That software is constantly being updated. The terminology and how we describe what we're doing is all available, and it's free. As a community-driven initiative, everything that we're doing is publicly available, open source, open service, open ecosystem for everybody to consume. And I encourage the developers, the data scientists, the AI practitioners, the blockchain enthusiasts to please, please go and visit, look at it, give us feedback, and play. Now, to close off, we're doing a lot of work to engage data scientists and AI researchers. A good example is the work that we're doing with AI Singapore. We've grouped together 9 of the universities, NUS, NTU, SMU, etc., plus the research institutions like A-Star and the different government bodies who are working with industry to actually start and fund PhDs in areas like decentralized federated learning, or decentralized applications and services, or the token economy. These are areas right now that more work is required, and so working with research institutions and data scientists, we're basically doing what we can to develop the thinking in this area. We're also working with these enterprises and governments and agencies, because if we cannot get the enterprise who has 95% of the highly valuable data to feel that they have an opportunity to participate and extract value from the data economy, we won't make progress. And so here's examples of the MNCs from the Roches, the Johnson & Johnsons, in health, retail, Unilever, in government, the INDA, who are actually working with us on real use cases. And for developers and startups, we're doing everything that we can to encourage and reward innovation, from running airdrops for participating in events to basically bounties and grants for different initiatives. And we encourage everybody to please come and build with us on this side. And finally, of course, we believe that the Ocean token will act as a proxy for the value of the data economy. If the Ocean token is enabling to establish trust if it's enabling to support the provenance of the data asset and enabling the evoke of services, bringing data, bringing compute, bringing algorithms, models to such data, enabling it to be used. That utility token is basically is the lubrication to enable this data economy and has an incredible role in being a proxy for that value. And so working with the crypto and the broader blockchain community, we believe that exchanges will start to become partners for enabling data scientists and developers to get access to the token and also start to reflect the value of the data economy through the appreciation of the token in value. So our community numbers are growing. So we have, all the numbers that you'd expect in terms of number of followers in Twitter and Telegram, multiple contributors in GitHub, and we're just working harder and harder to engage everybody in more and more meetups, 44 to date, hackathons, workshops and conferences. We believe that for this data economy to flourish, it needs the contribution of everybody worldwide. So we're very proud that currently we have ambassadors in 46 countries and 180 cities, running events and supporting and running different initiatives. And to give an example of the community initiatives, yes, we have industry events and conferences, we're running collaboration projects, we're also running workshops and education sessions, and we're going to be doing a significant number of these in Korea over the coming months. And we're supporting large-scale data innovation and innovation initiatives around data economy, Dubai, Seoul, and Shanghai. Finally, this is a journey that has been going on for over 2.5 years, and we've got 7.5 years at least more. So where we are right now in March, we've launched our beta network. It enables everybody to participate in that network. It has the service execution agreements, the access control, commons marketplace, data service layers, and we really encourage everybody to basically come and run their own Keeper setup and participate in leading to this network and giving us feedback. There'll be constant releases occurring on a quarter, biannual basis, and this is a journey that's going to go on for another 7.5 years from all of us, and that is our commitment. And finally, some of you may be aware, but we're actually running an IEO, initial exchange, offering with Bittrex. If you go to bittrex.com, Bittrex International, you'll be able to find details of the IEO. Registrations have started. It completes. The sale begins on the 30th of April at 9 a.m. PDT time. And all the information that you may be interested in terms of our token economics, kind of partners, the work that we're doing, the circulating supply, and the pricing, you can find from our blog, from our website, and also from Bittrex, which obviously is a key partner in terms of with Uplit here in Singapore. Our team is just passionate believers who complement each other in enterprise AI, data, and blockchain. And we're very happy to have the support of our advisors who come from all spectrums of the space. So please, I'm going to close here. I'm happy to take any questions. Let's build the ocean and create a new data economy. Please take a note of these references. We welcome any questions and any further conversations later this evening. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak today.